All right, guys. Well, we got some attire to walk in this sunny city, and we're heading to the Doge's Palace, which is the place of power. You know, this is where the ultimate ruler of Venice sat, and the Doge would have sort of complete authority over, almost like a supreme leader. So he would sit in this palace, but he would be elected, so it would not be hereditary. It would be Doge would be selected by the committee, and then he wouldn't have any property of his own, but he would be given this premise to live and to rule at. And you know, if he was doing a poor job, he would be voted out. So it's quite a unique. But let's go inside and find out more about the history of Doges here in Venice, that ruled Venice for many hundreds of years, and see what treasures we can find. And before we go into Doge's Palace, I just wanted to show you this unique feature. So as you can see, there's a bunch of columns here, but right here there's columns that are of different color. They're said to have been of red or purple hue, and the reason for that is that here is where the Doge was supposedly making his remarks. This is where he would announce some of his new laws, and also this is a place where executions would be proclaimed. So, you know, this both signifies sort of, you know, the red hue would symbolize the, you know, the color of blood that is associated with the executions, but also historically the color of purple is associated with royalty. You know, Roman emperors would wear purple cloaks, and this would distinguish them as the nobility, the aristocracy. And so, you know, these columns being of this color also would signify that, you know, this is where nobility is, and in fact this is exactly where the Doge would make his speeches. So when you're here, look for two differently colored columns on the Doge's Palace, and you know, you'll have a cool experience. All right, guys, so we are inside of Doge's Palace. So this is a main square here inside. So as you can see, it's protected on all four sides by walls, so it would be secluded from the public. Now I just want to tell you a little bit about this place. So Doge's Palace was built in 1340. It's an amazing example of Venetian Gothic architecture. So it has a very unique look to itself. Now, Doges were supreme authority in the Republic of Venice for 1,000 years. The first Doges appeared in 8th century, and the last one was in 18th century. So for 1,000 years, Doges governed this beautiful city and republic. So we are here in its center, in the heart of Doge's Palace. As we're going to be walking through, I'll be learning stuff. We'll both be learning stuff. You know, we'll explore together. We'll see what we can find, what kind of information we can learn from here and the museums around it. So let's go explore. So as you can imagine, the Doge would stroll this paved walkways here, contemplate on what to do with the Republic, how to make peace or how to make war, declare war. All happened here within these walls. All right, so we just got to the second floor of this palace, and I think we're about to enter the first museum. Look at this. We're about to see the golden staircase. Okay, guys, so we're just walking up here. Look how beautiful this place is. Full of murals and stone carvings, and so fantastic. Wow. Oh my. This is the first room. Look how grandiose this thing is. Wow. So we are currently in the chamber where foreign ambassadors would wait until they would get into the to be received by the Doge. So the first room that we walked into is called the council chamber, which is sort of like the main council room for the whole palace. This is where the full council would meet. What is meant by full is a body of two separate bodies, one called Savi and the other one Signoria. They're separate bodies, but together they would largely decide and organize the work of the Senate, and they would largely oversee the foreign affairs of Republic of Venice. And the artwork that you see is mostly dedicated to the virtues of government and the holiness of the rulers of the Republic of Venice. Next up, we ventured into the Senate chamber. Now, Senate in Venice was one of the oldest political institutions ever established. It traces its roots to the 13th century, and for the next 300 years, it would evolve into a body that would govern manufacturing industries, trade, and foreign policy. An interesting thing about Senate is that its members were largely selected from the most powerful and wealthy elites of the Venetian society. So it wouldn't be random. Everybody who was here was of the aristocracy class. And it is largely them that would then select who the next Doge would be. So although you have this republic with voting and freedoms, a lot of political power would come directly from the higher classes. And the artworks that you see here are largely from the 16th century. There was a great fire, and a lot of beautiful artworks perished in that fire. So in the 15th century, there was a big refurbishing of this wing of the palace. Same as I think with this room, but oh my god, just look how beautiful these frescoes are. Just the intricacy and the luxury in every single detail, in every single corner of this room. It just takes your breath away how much went on into making these masterpieces. Wow. This next room is fascinating. Although it is not too flashy, it has a large significance. This is a chamber of council of tens. It was organized after unsuccessful conspiracy in 1310. This council was organized to try the men that were the conspirators, but it never disappeared. It stayed, and it became somewhat of a CIA or MI6 of the Venetian state. It would have these authorities to trial people very quickly, and it would cover almost all sectors, everywhere from religious orthodoxy to foreign policy, and like I said, from espionage to state security. As a result, all of this made the Council of Ten a powerful yet deeply mysterious body of government. And as we walk out of this room, what we see is a compass room. Straight to your right, you will see a wooden structure. This structure hides a secret doorway to where the most powerful administrative people would sit. It would be almost joined to the room of the Council of Ten, and this room would serve as a lobby while you wait to be admitted to meet the heads of Council of Ten and the State Inquisitor. So this would not be the room you would want to end up if you've been summoned. And as you walk out of here, this is quite interesting. Right in the wall, there's this place for something to be dropped through. And then if you look inside, you can see the other room from here. So I wonder what kind of messages was thrown in here. Oh, and look at this from the other side. Here's what it looks like. Very interesting. Very interesting. Okay, well, let's keep walking. Oh, I think we got to the museum part. Oh, wow, look at this. Ooh. Some of the armory. Some of the armor that was used at the time here in Venice. Look at these very iconic helmets. Fascinating. The beautiful swords. Oh, wow. So this would be the armory of the castle. So from the looks of it, most of these date to the 15th century. So you can get a pretty good idea what the 15th century defenders of this castle would look like. And I guess this would be the armor. Yes. Oh, very neat. Look at that. Huh. Cool. Okay, let's go further. Oh. Oh. Wow, look at these arrows. Wow. Beautiful, beautiful artifacts. There's a helmet for the horse. Man, these are big boys. Look at that. Oof. Can you imagine how heavy it would be to walk in one of those? Gosh, can't even imagine. And here we have a beautiful shield as well. Yeah, these ones are magnificent. Rapiers, shields. Wow, look at this. Ornamented shields. Just fantastic. As you can see, more beautiful examples of weapons. Not much of a weapons guy. Never quite had an interest in it, but it's definitely beautiful. Beautiful to look at. Look at that. So this is from the 16th century. So we're moving up. Moving up. So you can see the weapons are getting larger. Maybe more conflict was happening at the time, so the armory was fortified by more heavy weaponry. Okay, let's go. Ooh. Whew. Look at this bad boy. Holy moly. What is this? This must be some kind of cannon. Huh. Wow. And maybe, what is this? Maybe a signal light or some sorts. Ooh, I like that gun right there. Look at that. Wow. Really neat. Family tree here. Guess we get to see the other side of this beautiful museum. Look at that. Wow. These are neat indeed. Pointed morions. There we go. Here's a description. So these would be, of course, the palace guards. Armory. Wow. Look at some of these swords. Can you imagine that? Slashing. Oof. Oh, pretty. But also, check out the view from the palace. There's a high chance that, Doge might have himself stood somewhere here and looked at the open waters here. Look over the people that he was in charge of. This is very cool. Walking in the footsteps of history. Wow. Okay, so we just descended from the armory, and here we are. Yet another beautiful room. Look at this. Look at all these beautiful paintings, frescoes on the wall. Now, what we see next here is a masterpiece by Guiriento di Arpo, and it is called Coronation of the Virgin, also known as Paradiso. Now, this is a very unique piece because what you see here is a remainder of a fresco from 13th century. Now, it has been horribly damaged by a fire in the 16th century, and it was only recently discovered in the beginning of 20th century when one of the paintings was taken off the wall and this fresco was discovered. Since then, it's been transferred on to the surface and restored so we can see it in its original beauty. And finally, we get to our main destination, the Chamber of the Great Council. This room that you see here is 53 meters long and 25 meters wide. It is the largest room in the whole palace, and it is also one of the largest rooms in all of Europe. Now, in this room is where the biggest council of Venice would sit. It is an ancient political body, and it would be composed of anywhere from 12 to 2,000 noblemen. This council was beloved by people because it remained throughout centuries a bastion of equality. It doesn't matter how rich you were, what status you had or merit. If you were an aristocrat, you had a place in this council. And so it was the ultimate body that could hold the Senate to account, the Doge to account. It was very powerful. It is amazing to imagine, but every Sunday when the bells of St. Mark's rang, you would see hundreds, if not thousands, of noblemen gathering in this room and choosing what needs to be done for the Republic. And of course, the Doge would preside over these meetings. But weekly, these people would gather and choose what needs to be done. It's just such a great symbol of republicanism, this direct power from the people. Of course, it was still restricted to the noblemen, but still, that was way more freedom than majority of European states had at the time. Now, these frescoes that you see are mostly from the 16th century. There was a great fire that damaged a lot of frescoes, and so you see mostly here are new ones. And most of them depict the heroic acts that Venetians had and the religious relationships to Vatican. On the top there you can see some of the early Doges, and behind the Doge's throne you can see a painting called Paradiso, which is world's longest painting. Can you imagine? World's longest painting. It's magnificent. Wow. Honestly, this room just takes your breath away. Its magnitude and its luxury is just breathtaking. Wow. Well, and here in this room we have some kind of a modern installation. So, fortunately, the walls are covered up, and there's I don't know, some kind of art. Yeah, it's a shame it covering up the frescoes on the walls, but I'll show the floor. I'll show you the top of the room. Okay guys, so we're going into some kind of chamber. I think this is where the jail was. I'm not sure. We'll see. The walls are becoming less finished. We're descending into the dungeons. Ooh, look at this. Oh yes, this is definitely a dungeon. Haha. So, you know, a very, very different view somebody would have of Venice if they were not playing by the rules. As you can see, look at that. Sophisticated construction here. Oof. Somebody definitely occupied these for many hundreds of years. Wow. Look at that. You know, as I'm walking through this dungeon, what strikes me is the Paradiso painting that we saw on the upstairs. How beautiful it looked and how divine it looked. As you descend here into the dungeon, you know, the walls are grim, everything is unfinished. There's bars on the, you know, where the people would sit. And so it kind of almost a real life portrayal of heaven and hell. You know, you would have heaven there, up there, a few meters up where the Doge sat with his dignitaries, where life is going on. And here, you know, you would have torment and torture and death and enslavement. So, you know, when they say that heaven and hell can be on earth, that, you know, this is a nice representation of what could have been. Wow, look at that. Look at these. Oh my. Pretty grim place. Oh, you can walk in here. Look at this. Let's see if we can find some ancient graffitis here, maybe. Probably not. But you never know. Wow. You know, you can, when you stand here, you can kind of get the sense of what it might have been like to end up here. You know, perhaps you would get your food through this hole or something like that, right? You know, all that beauty upstairs would be far, far away if this is where you were at. Not a happy place. Gotta be careful when you walk here. The ceilings are pretty short.